Alright, I'm gonna radiant in here so that I can actually, like, really see what's up.
Can you imagine your entire existence being boiled down to the choice of a Fanta, though? I mean...
I'd say it'd be pretty sad.
It's kind of zen, a little bit.
A little zen. A little sad.
You're completely alive in that moment, though.
Yeah. The real question is, how am I choosing without access to all of them?
You just... All of them are placed before you, and Angel's like, yep, here you go.
That's just some...
That's a quote. That's a biblical quote. Yep, here you go.
Those are some dick angels, though. Like...
What is it?
Instead of giving you an opportunity to redeem yourself and continue living, we're just gonna like extend your torment by giving you a Fanta.
But you're familiar,
and only one.
You're familiar that there's X number, odd number of orders of angels.
Yeah.
This is the customer service branch. This angel has been dealing with fucking people dying for thousands of years.
Oh, you can get infinite herbs from this.
Oh,
I can just keep
awesome.
coming in here and getting herbs.
You don't even need to call your dealer no more.
You're right.
Said what word?
Unlimited herbs.
That's a joke. See what I did?
Yeah. I think we all picked up on it.
Did you?
Yeah, I think we all got it. We're gonna fight down here for a little while.
Alright.
Try to hit level 10.
Stop sniffing into the microphone.
There you go.
Sorry.
Cory's been doing lines this entire time.
Sure have. Man, I'm just a Droog fiend.
Alright, I don't want to get another fighter ring, so I should probably just not loot either.
Which are you in? Which cave are you in?
I'm in the one that had the fighter ring.
So much attention to the game.
Yeah, clearly.
Well, I was putting us there. I was deeply invested in our existential Fanta scenario.
Our Final Fanta scenario.
The Final Fanta. That's 5 characters apiece.
We're hitting these guys a little harder than we used to, I feel like.
Yeah. If we hadn't died, honestly, our gold level would be pretty high right now.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, we are trying to work our way to 3,000, which is
that's
a
a
lot.
That's a lot of gold. We'll probably level up before then.
We will absolutely level up before then. Guarantee it. We might level up twice before then.
Be able to move into one of those. So where are other level up zones right now? So we have the Wolfman to the southeast.
Yeah, Wolfman to the southeast.
That seems pretty good.
Through the river passage. Or
the dragon seems like a gate rather than a specific
yeah, I think
area.
he's a stat gate sort of.
So what's our next? And there's also was there another zone to the southwest that was also a little bit too strong for us? I forget what we fought there, but I do feel like there was an obstacle.
Yeah, there was a thing.
Oh,
shit!
What could it have been?
I don't remember what it was. I remember getting scared away.
Oh, it was a wyvern.
Right, yeah, that thing.
Yes, that thing
pushed our poop in.
Yeah. Pushed our poop in. Oh my lord.
Is that too graphic for this? This is a family show.
Well,
not anymore.
If you've studied mythology,
kids, turn it off.
The wyvern has done that. to every living individual. It's a suppressed cultural memory.
Our culture is messed up, man. We need to
Western
deal with
culture,
our wyvern problem.
Western culture is a mess. It's true.
Even with 2 squares of sight, you can just see so much more things.
You really can. It makes it so much easier.
I do kind of feel like just running this dungeon and getting money and herbs over and over again.
Get money, get herbs. God.
This game really just is...
Dab warrior.
Yeah.
Oh God, I'm just so old.
So, yeah, I don't think they call it that anymore. I don't want to talk to myself.
I think it's actually a contemporary thing.
Is it? I don't know anything about words that one would use in these scenarios.
It's like a special kind of preparation.
Oh, goodness.
I think it's oil based. It's a California thing. I don't know anything about it. We're on the East Coast.
Yeah, we are nowhere near.
We just drink seawater.
That's how we get high.
That's how we just
drink seawater and then throw up.
It's just about having fun.
Oh, that's just good, clean fun.
Good, clean, all-American capitalist fun. We thought about naming the show Good All-American Capitalist Fun Time.
But then the whole interview situation happened, so we decided that we didn't want to come
Right.
close to any.
We did.
Reference.
Just to clarify, that was never a thought that we had.
No. We
Never.
are firm supporters of Kim Jong Un. Well,
Misrepresenting.
ooh.
Anti. No, that's not Kim Jong Un. That's not what I was saying.
What are you saying?
Oh, misrepresenting anti-capitalism as
Oh.
being equivalent with Kim Jong Un North Korean dictatorship,
Listen,
which is not.
but I was saying the interview.
Oh yeah, no, that's true.
That's a thing that is happening.
That is wild. It's
I
been
realized I
released.
didn't want to go upstairs.
It's been released though, yeah. On like YouTube.
And on like Xbox One, and it's coming to PlayStation Network.
It's a pretty. I don't really know.
It's a
how
weird way
comment
to
on this
put it
thing.
out there.
I mean, it's just a fascinating, terrifying thing.
Yeah, but it's just like, if we can't show it in theaters, or if the theater owners are
Yeah.
too scared, then we're just gonna digitally distribute, which is neat.
It is.
I'm down.
I mean, it's pretty. Yeah, it's just been a really
It's just a weird
it's a
situation.
wild scenario. Yeah, the response is really interesting, actually.
Son of a bitch. Luckily, sleep doesn't seem to last as long on us as it does on enemies. Well, I say that.
That's true.
No, I shouldn't have said that.
Hmm.
Alright, here we go.
Goodness.
Just die.
Do you think there's any subversive political subtext to JRPGs, or possible,
Yeah, definitely.
or possibly reclamation that can be done?
Well, there's definitely a lot of anti-establishment stuff in JRPGs, especially in the Final Fantasies.
I want to hear more about this because my thinking is, how is it's kind of hierarchy reinforcing,
Yeah,
But-
Dragon Quest is much more in favor of order, and I feel like Final Fantasy is much more about like rebelling and
I'm interested in connecting.
upsetting the established order.
Okay,
Because that's a recurring theme in a lot of Final Fantasy games.
that's true. Well, I mean, in some senses, like in original Final Fantasy, the four crystals, right, are out of. The world is in some sense out of order.
Yeah,
Right.
but man,
You're restoring it to some sort of natural order.
I don't know that I can speak to the plot of that game.
But the final boss, I'm pretty sure, is
Confidently enough.
chaos.
Yeah, I think
There's
you
lack
are
of
right.
Cosmic order. But I mean,
But like the more modern Final Fantasies, especially the 3D Final Fantasies,
that's true.
like
Well, that's
Final Fantasy
true.
VII has a very environmental theme,
Well, that's 100%.
like eco warrior type.
There's an anti-corporate,
Yeah, very
aspect.
highly anti-corporate.
but I'm thinking like this game. I mean,
And
like,
then 13 does as well.
Um,
And then
yeah.
12 is just Star Wars, so it's against the Empire.
that's true. I guess I'm just trying to play. Like, is there any political value to a game like this in the kind of contemporary political climate? I mean, think of all the things that are going on right now. Like, what can you draw out of this? I'm thinking even in a very broad sense, you're reclaiming this in some sense.
I mean, like a game this old?
Yeah, I mean it's old, mechanically, flavor-wise, anything. I mean, I think there's something potent here, but I don't know what exactly you want to.
It just feels like the older games are so thin on flavor.
So I think rather than thin, lets you fill in. Honestly, like as a kid, like I feel like you fill it in.
I mean, you do, but at that point, you're not
magical.
really reading into the text. You're just kind of making stuff up.
It's a basis for imagination, though.
Okay.
It's a catalyst for your imagination. It invites you to fill in the details.
Agreed. That it does. That is a lot of the value of the older games.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
I do.
It induces dreams. It's a dream-inducing game.
Dream Inducer. It's my
Yeah.
new prog rock band.
Yeah. I'm serious, though. I think it's a contention, too, between some people who are really into, like, pen and paper games and these games, though. It's
What's that?
exactly that. Like, the degree to which these are kind of pre-scripted, that are, like, contained environments that you can't really elaborate on.
Mm-hmm.
Your input is limited.
Yeah, I mean,
But that's, I mean, by necessity, but...
That's a huge aspect of JRPGs, though, is that you rarely have much input in the way things turn out.
You know, I just imagine, like, back in the early days of computerized RPGs, there was, you know, who knows, but I think there was some sort of contention between people who were pen and paper players in games like this, or especially the D&D variants.
Yeah, I mean, I think that if you're heavily into D&D, JRPGs are probably just not for you, because they're very diametrically opposed, even if they're like based on similar concepts. Like,
it's interesting, actually. The mechanical, the interaction we have with the game is completely different than it would be in a pen and paper game, despite being superficially similar.
I mean, boiling down all of your melee combat options to fight is like pretty antithetical.
Well, I mean, it's still a problem with video games. I've been thinking this even with when Chris was playing Bioshock Infinite. Other people have said this before too, but like, it's an incredible universe that they've built in that game.
And the only way to interact with it is to put bullets into things.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the most problematic aspects of Bioshock, is that it
I think it's not even...
presents these worlds that you want to explore and interact with, and the only form of interaction you have is just violence.
I mean, I think that's more just a problem endemic in most games nowadays.
That's probably true.
But, I mean, that's why... there's no nice cows that you can interact with in this game. Even this far back. I mean, the mechanics are still the same.
Yeah.
No, I mean, there's other aspects. There's discovery, right?
Yeah, I think it is kind of like exploration, and you know, a lot of this stuff was novel at the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, Dragon Warrior especially. So that's what it actually kind of gets back to what I was talking about. Like, so what do you take away from this? You know what I mean? If you want it to have an impact on your life, is it more than just an escapist time waster to you? Especially you've played it as a kid, so it's part of your kind of mental landscape.
I think it. Like I've said before, I think it is something that, like a lot of hard games, teaches you how to deal with loss.
Interesting.
That was my experience in Dark Souls.
Yeah.
Wow. And I mean, most hard games where the punishment for losing or for death is like something that costs you a real amount of time or something.
Wow.
It's not just like quick saving all the time. That's also why I don't like the save state in these games very much, because it kind of defeats the purpose of why the only thing that makes the game hard at all. The only thing that makes it not just grinding forever.
Spend time equals progress. Yeah.
Yeah. If you take away the loss on death, you kind of make it so that you don't have much point to what you're doing. You might as well just like jump on YouTube and watch a YouTube of the ending or whatever.
Yeah, no, I think you're 100% right. I mean, it kind of makes these games, Final Fantasy, similar, but it's kind of a meditation on time. Like, I mean, it's like what you spend the time doing.
Right.
And what you're willing to lose. What you're willing to spend versus what... I don't know. The question of what you gain is kind of implicit throughout. I don't know. Why are we playing this?
I mean,
like as a kid even. Like, what's the appeal ultimately? I guess achievement.
Yeah, and also, I mean, I remember as a kid just wanting to see the cool thing at the end, and it was before YouTube, so you couldn't just go and watch it. You had to do it.
Well, that's much different than accomplishment. And then that's a sense of wonder.
Yeah, and then there's that, and then there is the accomplishment aspect, because if other kids knew about the game, then you could be the one that beat it, which was, you know, a rare thing. Kids didn't beat very many games, at least when I was a kid.
I'm just trying to get a sense of what motivates the player, you know what I mean, to move forward. That's really cool.
And I mean, it could just be as simple as, I want to see the Dragon Lord, and then I want to see him die. I mean, it doesn't have to be grandiose to be a motivation for consuming entertainment.
Not at all. I'm just curious what it is, you know? Because it is a lot of real time.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, all JRPGs are like that, even ones that aren't hard.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. And that's kind of when... Like, other JRPG experiences that aren't hard, like, we both recently played Final Fantasy 13, which is not a hard game. I don't think anyone could really argue that it's hard because it's like you don't ever have to grind in that game. You just have to continue going forward, and the game is curved so finely that you don't have to spend time grinding anywhere to do anything. And so at that point, it's more like you're consuming the story and the art and the music, and it's almost more of like a movie in terms of how you're interacting with that thing. I mean, there's still something to be said for the physical process of playing the game and how, it feels good and the gameplay feels right, but...
I don't know. I kind of think maybe it's not as difficult as I don't know. It seems like the battles are more a skill-based, performance-based. You know what I mean? Like you have to manipulate the system.
They can be, but it's still like... I could imagine it being harder if, like, you pretend you play the game without ever using auto-battle. Now it's a hard game. But, I mean, 13, you can just auto-battle and paradigm shift, and that's often enough to beat most encounters.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some planning and maybe having the right paradigms and the right people.
I guess it requires, the planning for you have to manipulate the paradigms. Mm-hmm. Whereas, though, the primary thing in this one is you don't have to manage anything in the fights usually.
Yeah,
it's
the
more
fights
about
are
like,
real
should
simple.
I fight?
Yeah,
rather
should
than
I fight
Final
at
Fantasy
all?
13, it's like, how do I fight?
Yeah. Yeah, especially because in 13 there's no carryover between battles at all.
No.
It doesn't matter what you do.
I mean, we haven't really seen a boss fight aside from the Green Dragon yet. But that, it seems like the option there is like we out-level the dragon or something like that. You know what I mean?
That is really, I think, what it is.
Whereas there are battles in Final Fantasy 13 that's like, I'm approaching this the wrong way.
Yeah, it is more of a mental thing.
Strategic.
Yeah, it's a strategy issue. Often if you're losing, it's not because your character is not powerful enough, it's because you're just doing it wrong.
This one's like quantity, time, resource spending. It's the complete opposite, really, of Final Fantasy 13.
Yeah.
Which is... I think you're right, it does have those emphases that you're talking about. The kind of cinematic experience of the game.
Yeah, because once you have the strategy in hand and you don't have to think about it anymore, it's really just an entertainment product. You're just kind of...
But some of the bosses are they're hard. I thought they were.
There's a couple in the game that I feel that are hard, and the rest are kind of pushovers once you understand their central conceit. Mm-hmm. And that's just my opinion as someone who's played the game a bunch of times, and my first time playing I don't remember as well.
Well, one of my criticisms was it was like, at some of the bosses, it was like pattern maintenance. You follow the same pattern.
And like recognizing a tell from the boss that you know to switch to the right paradigm.
But there would be artificial limits. Like there would be a time limit, and they would just cast death on you.
Right.
Which is kind of, I don't know. It's interesting. I don't know. I guess
especially the Eidolon battles were like that, where it's just like you have to figure out how to
exactly
do it fast enough. We got stop spell.
I don't know how to feel about that. Ooh. Did we level up?
Yeah, we leveled up. We got stop spell, which means I'm pretty sure you cast it and it just stops that enemy from being able to cast for the rest of the battle or for a certain number of turns. Yeah.
That's really cool.
So it's useful.
So Ryan, genuinely, do you find a personal appeal in a game like this even today?
I mean, there's something gratifying about just slowly improving as a character and, trivializing battles that were once difficult especially the enemies running away, even though it's an annoyance because you don't get the benefit from fighting the enemy, it still makes you feel powerful. And I feel like games like this where you can just grind up this is going badly.
The warlocks are tough.
How much does this cost? Let's find out.
Let's try it.
Costs 2.
Ooh.
That spell has been blocked. Ha.
That's awesome.
But no, I just need to hit it once. Well, that's a waste.
Well, now we know what stop spell does.
Now we know what it does. And now it's time to leave. But yeah, we had that experience today where it's like we crossed a bridge to a place that at one time scared us away because an enemy was so strong. Yeah. And then now we go back and that enemy runs away from us. That's a really good feeling. And so it's kind of just, that visceral moment where it's like, yeah, I'm awesome. Even though the only thing you did was just make your numbers go up. And you didn't learn any novel strategy or anything like that. It's just...
It's a commitment of time.
Yeah.
Which is
I have invested time and now, my experience is smoother.
Yeah. I think the central appeal to me of a game like this is its slowness.
Yeah, you were talking about that before.
Yeah.
The power of games like this to slow down time for you.
the experience of time as genuinely as we, it's just in a day-to-day kind of basis.
Right.
And a lot of I think what I was talking about in the context of like a lot of like art film
Mm-hmm.
in the past 10, 20 years is slow, long take films.
Yeah. Did I tell you about watching Upstream Color?
No, but I have heard of that.
It is very much like that. It is super slow. Very little happens.
Yeah.
There's a story, but there's like very little dialogue, and a lot of the story is told just through imagery, and I feel like it would be very easy to fall asleep to.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. What? I don't know if I told you about this. One of my favorite films recently, I think it was in the early 2000s. I forget the exact date. It's called Goodbye Dragon Inn.
You haven't told me about this.
It's by a director named Tsai Ming Liang in like Taiwanese cinema.
Mm-hmm.
But it takes place in a theater. Believe if I'm remembering correctly, the film is only 30 shots total.
Wow. How long is
the film's about 90? It's standard standard length.
Right.
I don't remember the exact numbers, but so some of the takes are quite long, several minutes.
Mm-hmm. They have to be, yeah.
But and again, it's in a theater, so some of the shots are just people watching the film. Dragon Inn is a King Hu film, like one of the original like kung fu epics in Taiwanese cinema, and it's kind of an elegy like for the death of cinema, but also kind of the act of watching and watching people watch. But its sense of time is really slow.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's really wonderful. I like it a lot. But
You're saying that's part of what you like about games like these?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been trying to. I felt an appeal for these for a really long time, but I haven't really been able to get a sense of why.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe part of me just likes like playing something that I feel like is kind of semi-forgotten. Too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think you have that more than I do.
I don't know. I can feel a sense of nostalgia for something even like this that I've never really experienced as a kid. You know what I mean? I guess I just think that there are people who made this, who spent years of their lives making this.
Yeah.
I don't know. I find that really fascinating and mysterious.
It is interesting. I'd almost feel like that would be a more interesting aspect of this if it were actually like really forgotten. But like people know Dragon Warrior.
I just feel like it's kind of hidden in plain sight. You know what I mean? Like
yeah, not a lot of people know it. I'd say that it's definitely not a thing that a lot of people have played. Because it's definitely.
I feel like there's lots of elements of pop culture that are like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Think of like I don't know, famous from film or music. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. People know John Wayne, but how many people have watched John Wayne films? Or people know Elvis, but how many people have listened to Elvis songs? You know what I mean?
I don't know that I have watched a John Wayne film.
Yeah. See, that's kind of my point. I don't know. It's just weird cultural transmission stuff, or even just people have played a JRPG, but how many people have played Dragon Warrior?
Right. Yeah. Granddaddy.
Yeah. But there's definitely a sense too that like this has been improved upon.
Yeah.
Which is fair to a degree, but it also I guess it glosses over the fact that it offers something that modern games don't. The comparison to Final Fantasy 13 is interesting. I think in that respect. Not necessarily better or worse, but it's a different experience.
It's definitely a different experience.
Yeah.
They're very opposed. Which also speaks to how, the genre is, like, calling them both JRPGs is almost disingenuous because they're so different.
Yeah.
Like...
Yeah, you're right. And it's almost confusing because it really does have more in common with a lot of contemporary W or CRPGs, Western RPGs.
Yeah. It also has a lot in common with, like, modern incrementer games, like...
Ooh, such as?
Well, like...
I'm familiar with that, I guess.
Like... That's not stairs. That's a chest. Like one of the big examples is Cookie Clicker, which you've seen on my computer. It's like both Cookie Clicker and this game scratch the same kind of itch in my brain, where it's just like bigger, better numbers and encountering like harder things that you slowly overcome just by doing the same thing over and over again. Like I don't know what it is in my brain that is entertained by that, but there's definitely a thing there. It's why I can play this game and why I play those games too.
Can I don't know, part of what fascinates me about our different approaches to this is like I think that's a completely valid experience of this game. Part of what I think my appeal is completely different. It's completely aesthetic. I don't know. it's in the ambiance of the game.
Yeah, that's definitely more mechanical for me. Just like anytime that like you sort of hit a milestone where like we've been hitting these guys, and eventually I'm going to hit them and I'm going to deal 20 damage, or I'm going to hit them and I'll kill them in one hit, and then I'll be like, yeah, like I'm rocking this game right now, and it feels good.
I guess what I'm trying to like struggle to define, I have been for a really long time, is like what about that mechanic creates the feel of the game that appeals to me? Mm-hmm. Maybe it's just that. I don't know.
That's definitely a lot harder to pin down.
It is. Like. It's more ambiguous.
Because it's not a defined moment like that where, you know, I one shot, I feel good.
But the mechanic is responsible for the rhythm of the game.
Yeah.
Which is what I like. I don't know. The films that I've been interested in lately, too, are slow. I like that. Slow and repetitive.
Mm-hmm. I really should have stopped spelling.
Maybe I just find that a virtue in and of itself. Our G's are pretty high, though, man.
Our G's are getting pretty high. We do need 3,000 to buy the full plate.
Yeah. I mean, on a meta level, it is kind of nice that the game is kind of a vehicle for conversation.
That's
you know
true.
what I mean? Like, you can sit here and enjoy it in a way that, like...
You just shoot the shit.
Well, if you were playing Final Fantasy 13, it wouldn't be like that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you'd spend a lot of time in cutscenes.
Think about that. You'd be listening to the fucking game rather than talking about it.
That's true.
Or talking to each other.
Luckily, by the time we get to those games, we'll have a lot less to talk about. Because we'll have been talking for years about RPGs.
It's true.
Yeah, in case people are like of the mind to be like, don't you realize how long it's going to take? We do. we do. Cory spent the time to go on how long to beat and make an Excel spreadsheet and math it out and see how long it's really going to take us. The answer is a long time.
It's a long time. It's years.
It is years.
I mean,
that's okay.
And that's fair, though. I mean, like...
We're not dying.
I don't think it's unreasonable, too, to imagine finishing essentially like 27 years to be...
Yeah, I mean, it's 27 now.
Yeah, it was now.
It will be 30 by the time we're done, probably.
Yeah. But, I mean, I don't know.
It'll probably be more than 30, but...
Not to get too, like, into this, but, like, part of what appealed to me about that movie, Goodbye Dragon Inn, which a lot of people, honestly, would find very boring, is that the movie is... It's about the film Dragon Inn. Mm-hmm. It partially is a remembrance of that film.
So it's a real film.
Yes, it's absolutely a real film.
Okay.
It's a.
I didn't quite understand that as.
Yeah. Dragon Inn is a real film. Goodbye Dragon Inn is about a contemporary theater, showing that film for the last time before the cinema itself closes. Mm-hmm. One of the characters in the film is one of the actors in the original Dragon Inn.
Oh, really?
So, like, say there's one of the most devastating shots of the film is him watching it, and it kind of crying as he watches it. And.
What is this death of the cinema, though?
Honestly, it's the idea that like showing films in theaters is becoming it's I don't know, it's becoming, it's not practiced as much anymore. Like theater culture is dying, like with the advent of modern distribution media. Or that the way I mean,
do you agree with that perception?
Well, I mean, it's subtle enough in the film too that it's like I think it's more an elegy for a specific experience, a communal experience of watching films together alone. You know what I mean, like in a theater. Mm-hmm. It's not that cinema is dying; it's that the way that we experience it is changing, and I think that's all it's elegizing.
It's almost like that together alone aspect has just changed venues. Like we're together alone on social media,
online. Yeah, absolutely. One of the subplots of the film is this kind of like gay like cruiser, like he's looking in the theater for someone to hook up with, kind of. But it's just kind of he finds ghosts. You know what I mean? I don't know, like with the people there, he's not quite sure if they're alive or dead. Huh. But it's like he's there looking for a physical connection, a
physical relationship.
Yeah, with someone, and it's elusive. I don't know. It's kind of like a weird ghost of the internet connection that you're talking about.
It's definitely, I could see that too, you know, reflecting back to when I was in like high school and going to the theater because it was private, you know, a place to take a girlfriend and make out in the back row, which is not really, I don't even know that that's a thing that people do anymore.
I doubt it. I mean,
not ask me anything about modern high schoolers.
Yeah,
but
I don't know. I don't know. It's just... Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, it's underscore too. This is kind of a secondary piece, but King Hu is a major director, but on Western media, there is not an official release of any of his major films. Aside from Come Drink With Me, which has a release, but only because it was associated with the Shaw Brothers. Did a lot of Kung Fu movies. But Dragon Inn and Touch of Zen don't have domestic releases. So it's almost like it literally has been forgotten in the West.
That's crazy.
Asian cinema like that doesn't really have good distribution here. I don't know. It's interesting. That's especially why I think of something like Dragon Warrior, as silly as it is. I guess that's what I thought of with Goodbye Dragon Inn. Is the film is itself kind of an act of remembrance of this film. I mean, there's only like 2 or 3 people in the theater in the film too. You know.
Right.
And 2 of the people are actors in the film, actually in the original film, the real actors themselves.
It's wild.
Yeah. I mean, there's only like honestly a handful of lines of dialogue in the entire film, and one of them is saying something like "Nobody really watches this anymore" or something like that. It's interesting.
Is this a film you own?
I do, yeah. Yeah.
And it's one you watched recently, or?
It's been one of my favorites that I've watched recently. Goodbye Dragon Inn. That director has a bunch. I've collected a few of his other films, but I haven't watched them yet. Rebels of the Neon God.
Rebels of the Neon God.
The River. The Hole.
These are some wild names.
Yeah.
The Hole sounds like a horror movie.
They're all kind of, yeah. I mean, I can't speak to them. I haven't seen them yet, but... Taiwanese New Wave. Or Second Wave Taiwanese. Slow film. It's weird to make the connection, I guess, between this and Dragon Warrior, but there's something about the rhythm of this that's similar to me. And what it does to the player or the viewer with time. You're aware of yourself watching the film when you watch Goodbye Dragon.
Well, yeah, it sounds very meta. Like, it seems like you'd have a hard time not being aware that you're watching a film.
Well, imagine a 3-minute take where you're watching someone watch a film. You don't see the actual film, you just watch their face as they watch it, you know? I guess us commenting about it, too. It's a really obnoxious commentary. I'm sorry. That's been one of my major interests in the past year or so.